Welcome back in, everyone. We are here for another episode of the B Dub Bros podcast, jumping in for reaction to a pretty busy week of sports last week as we had the NFL draft, a bunch of different events going on. We've got Kentucky Derby coming up this weekend for those people that really seems like that's kind of transitioned into a gambling event, but sports never stop, and we're here to talk about the sports that we have coming up, some reactions to last week. I've got my co-host, my brother Logan, once again jumping on with us. How are we doing today, brother?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's been a crazy week, battling the traffic once again, but the rain has stopped here in Chattanooga. The rainiest city in the world, beats out Seattle every year in percentage of rainfall. If you guys didn't know that, fun fact for you. And yeah, so yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
Dropping the interesting fun fact of the day for us there to start us off. We'll jump right in. Just a couple of kind of recruiting notes and changes in the back to the Tennessee athletic program. First one would just be Tennessee kind of an exchange of coaching staffs here. We've got the basketball team hiring Amaro Morgan as an assistant coach with them. Departure of Rod Clark. He actually joined the Indiana coaching staff, so they're going through quite a few changes there. Heard some good things about Coach Morgan. Honestly, don't know much about it, but with the way Tennessee basketball program is heading, it seems like they continue to get better, so should be interesting there. And on kind of that same note, Tennessee again this week gets some good news on the recruiting trail for basketball. They had Amari Abram. He was a really good scorer for Louisiana Tech last year. Transfers in. He's going to kind of be jumping into that shooting guard position, which was really the last open position that they had. And I'll touch on maybe some more changes possibly coming to that position as well. But what do you think about that addition, as now all of a sudden this Tennessee team looks like it's maybe even going to be a stronger roster than it was a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, once again, primed and ready. And if it's a guy that Barnes wants out of the transfer portal, it's a guy that Barnes is going to get. So at least that seems to be the case for pretty often. So, sounds like they're, like you said, they've got a pretty dang good roster, maybe better than last year, at least on paper.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things that seems to be kind of a trend, of course, across college basketball is you got to have. Tennessee has gone a couple of seasons now where they've almost focused on more of a primary scorer, but feels like they are leaning into a scoring kind of group. You've got now multiple guys coming in that are over 40% three-point shooters, which is massive for them. And then also some news comes out that possibly a return for Jordan Gainey, a possible fifth year coming back, which could only be a good addition, a guy that just got better every year under Rick Barnes. So if you are able to get back Jordan Gainey as well, it's a team that now goes, I think they're going to be 10, 11 deep, which is huge for a team that was basically struggling to get guys off the bench last season. So it feels like that program obviously has been in a good spot for a long time, but maybe as strong and as deep as a roster as Rick Barnes has kind of been able to build.
Oh yeah, for sure. It almost seems like he's hit another gear, it feels like he's figured it out. And if he can put it together, it's going to be a great season, and you just kind of expect that at this point. So, I mean, I'm ready to go. I got my orange tinted sunglasses on, so everything's bright in the big orange country. So,
yeah, for sure. It's funny that we kind of really just within the last month or so, we were talking about the possibility of Rick Barnes maybe being done, maybe retiring if Tennessee does make that run to the Final Four. If they get past Houston, maybe it's the end of the road. And now it seems like Rick Barnes is, like you said, almost more driven, feels like he's rejuvenated and definitely has not missed a beat continuing to add to that roster. So really should be interesting as the basketball season starts to come up. But definitely as the basketball season comes up beforehand, everybody's favorite time of the year, we've already started kind of transitioning into football season, and we'll jump into a little bit of that college football talk. We've got Tennessee on the football side have been not really active players or not really making big splashes in the spring portal, but they did announced today, Colton Hood from Colorado commits to Tennessee. He is a cornerback and looks like he's got 3 years of eligibility in college football. Who knows what that actually means at Tennessee, but at least you've got a guy that has experience in a bigger conference. That's a pretty big get for a defense that is probably going to be their strongest unit this year again.
Well, I lost you on at the end there, because I gotta love this connection here.
So, what do you think about that addition for Colton Hood coming into the defensive unit?
I mean, it seems like a good depth piece. It also seems like, unfortunately, we're making trades with other teams, because that's the second team that we've traded players with. I don't know if you noticed, but we just had a guy transfer to Colorado in the same position group. So, well, he was a safety, but still, I guess this is the world of college football. We're just gonna do trades now. So, it seems like a good depth piece. We're still looking for that wide receiver, though. I'm starting to get a little, I don't know if worried is the right word, but I was really hoping for a receiver by this point, and there's not been one. So I guess we'll just roll with what we got. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe they'll pick up a guy at the last minute, but
definitely. I'm kind of curious too. I think you represent a lot of what Tennessee fans are thinking is that because they don't have experience, they don't necessarily have enough at the wide receiver position. And yes, you could probably use more bodies in the room, but I'm almost not the opposite. But to me, I'm excited about what they have in the room. I think because of one of our biggest gripes of Josh Heupel is that he does not give young guys experience fast enough.
Great.
And I think that the good thing about this locker room, this young receiving group, is that he's going to be forced to have to do that. So I'm actually excited about the group. I know a lot of Tennessee fans are worried that you've got Mike Matthews and that's basically it. But I'm really excited about the talent that they have and guys that we're actually going to get to see play before they're juniors and then all of a sudden they're gone. So I'm looking forward to that in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, and I agree. I think I'm on the majority as far as feeling that this group is not experienced enough. But it is very frustrating how Josh will tend to keep his seniority over talent sometimes. So he, like you said, I think he's going to be forced to play a lot of guys that haven't played much, who seem to be incredibly talented. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Tennessee is in a bad spot necessarily. I just think it would be nice to have a little bit more experience. Especially with a lot of new offensive line and pieces, and there's a lot of new faces, a new quarterback, whoever it's going to be. None of them has started at the University of Tennessee, so it's a lot.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest point is that you go from a playoff team and then kind of the hopefulness of retooling and getting back to that same kind of level, and now you go from a team that was a relatively known commodity that was kind of, you knew what you were going to get this year, to it's basically a completely fresh start for Heupel going into, is this year 5 for him? So it's going to be a big change, no doubt, for kind of what we have come to expect in the new era of Tennessee football.
Yeah, which is a good thing. Glad to be in this spot as a fan base than where we were a few years ago. But yeah, you just have no idea what to expect, which is exciting in its own right. But I don't know what to expect for this season. So it'll be nice.
It's going to be interesting. I know you mentioned kind of going through a little bit of what kind of some predictions and things that we're expecting, or maybe some surprises for this upcoming season. And we'll just start with Tennessee, with the kind of uncertainty of the upcoming season. What are you kind of feeling? What do you think Tennessee fans, if you were betting on it, what do you expect from the upcoming season? What's a good season? Maybe give us some predictions on quarterback. What kind of things are you thinking about for the new year?
Well, given what we just talked about, I think Josh Heupel probably starts Joey Aguilar. I don't know if he will be the starter at the whole season. I don't know if he'll even be the starter by the second game, but I think he probably starts the first game of the season. And then after that, man, we could see multiple guys in there. It's going to be about if Josh Heupel can get over that. I play the guys who are up next, not the guys who are the most talented. If he can get over that, I feel like he's fallen into that trap, as we just said. If he can get over that, you never know what kind of team this could be. That being said, I think if you ask anybody realistically, I'd say 8 wins is probably where you would bet if you were gonna realistically bet this team. Nobody wants that, but I think that's where you kind of put hedge your bets, I guess. 8 wins is not what
I think you're kind of in the place where, it's, to me, if you're looking at kind of the 8-win threshold, I don't think you're really that far off from what the season was last year, probably. I think they end up in a spot where you're talking about a couple of games go your way or don't go your way. Like last year, you had Florida beat, you find a way to get them into overtime, you nearly blow that game. So I think you're kind of in a similar situation where last year you had Georgia beat, all of a sudden you've won 11 games, or you take a step back, you don't beat Alabama, you've won 9 games. So I think,
I agree.
You're not really, if Tennessee wins 8 games, then it's, of course, Tennessee fans are going to be disappointed because that's what Tennessee fans do, but I don't think you're necessarily looking at it as a situation where it's a regression. I think this is a really good opportunity for Tennessee fans to temper their expectations and just try to enjoy the season as best they can. Try to enjoy the little wins, and then next year you kind of move into a more familiar roster. But let this season be a fun one. Let's take the wins as they come, and then who knows, maybe you overachieve again this year, and you never know what happens.
I mean, I agree. I think Josh Heupel's overachieved every year he's been there, except for the exception of the Joe Milton year. I think that team achieved about as much as they could. But
that was a Joe Milton handicap season. You got what you could out of Joe Milton as a
so we're kind of in that same boat again. So will we get exactly kind of what we would expect like that year, or is it going to be an overachieved year? Josh Heupel has never underachieved, in my opinion, in any season he's been in Tennessee. So I don't see that. But will they meet expectations? And it depends on what are those expectations. I don't really know. What do you expect from a team this year who lost a starting quarterback and a bunch of starters and had 4 guys drafted, and you lost a lot of depth and you lost a lot of experience. So what do you expect from a team like that? I don't know.
100%. I think, yeah, the biggest thing is once you kind of nail it down, it always comes down to the most obvious is what do you get from the guy that's taking the snaps? Who, like you said, who ends up being the guy right now? You mentioned Aguilar kind of maybe leaning that direction because of his starting experience. McIntyre being the true freshman. Merklinger is a guy that has a couple of years now in the system, but has not been a starter for Tennessee. So that's where obviously you
Right.
thrive or you suffer is going to be what does the guy that's taking snaps do and who does it end up being, which at this point I think I would kind of maybe lean with you as Aguilar being, it's hard to say the front runner because of Merklinger being in the system, but with his starting experience, maybe that ends up being a situation where, yeah, it's similar to maybe the Joe Milton, Hendon Hooker type of, I don't think the talent is maybe the same comparison, but it's similar to that where it feels like maybe the transfer guy comes in and eventually feels like the guy, the way that Hendon Hooker became that for Tennessee. And if he does anything close to what Hendon Hooker did at Tennessee, then obviously this team, the expectations are that you give yourself a chance against Georgia, and maybe you are back where you were last year. So who knows?
Yeah.
It's a
big wild
card for sure.
Yeah, that Georgia game is going to be. It's going to be a real. It's going to be a real thermometer on how hot or cold this team is as far as being a playoff contender. I think. Not that they can't get there, or not if they will already be
Georgia team, right? And a Georgia team that is basically in the same situation as what Tennessee is in as well. A quarterback who, yes, you got a couple of starts out of him towards the end of the season, but a guy with very little experience and maybe even you assume he's the guy in Compton kind of being your starter moving into the new year, but who knows? Of course, Georgia, as is the case every year, they've got a bunch of guys that get drafted. They're starting over. Kirby Smart, we expect him to pull it together again, but the SEC has a lot of Alabama, new quarterback, Ole Miss, new quarterback, Florida, Texas, South Carolina, really the two that have the returning quarterbacks. You got Texas, who's probably going to be the preseason #1 just because people assume that Arch is the guy, and there's no indication to tell us that he's not going to be that guy.
Right. They're also spending $40 million on their football team, so that's going to be
a program
that'll help.
Yeah, you can't argue with spending money for sure. That's something that you want other programs that you root for to do, but you hate to see programs that you don't root for do it. But yeah, I mean and then of course you got teams like, I think maybe Auburn is an interesting one who gets the quarterback coming over from Oklahoma. I can't remember off the top of my head, can't remember his name, but I think that Auburn team was a quarterback away from being a pretty decent team last year, and now in a better situation. Maybe that changes. Who knows? The SEC is a lot of unknowns at the quarterback position, but I think a lot of guys that I don't think any of us are going to be surprised that you see a couple of those quarterbacks in the kind of Heisman Trophy conversation and in that conversation for a couple of so it'll be interesting. So any other kind of points that you're looking for maybe outside of Tennessee? Who are you expecting to be one of those maybe dark horse playoff teams or teams that you're expecting to be pretty dominant again this year? What are you looking at there?
Well, I I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't think anybody right off honestly feels like they're going to be dominant necessarily. All the top dogs have lost so many pieces, you don't really know what they're going to be. And then the preseason hype teams like South Carolina or Florida or, maybe even Auburn. I mean, that's just hype. I mean, you think they're going to be a lot better, but I don't know. But are they? I don't know. I don't really. I'm always on the camp of I don't believe in anybody until I believe in them. I am never buying into preseason hype, even for my own team. I do not believe in anyone until they make me. So I don't know. I think I don't know if the ACC is going to win another championship this year. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's now you're looking at a Big Ten who has vastly improved. I don't think you're going to see big step backs from teams like Penn State or Oregon. Obviously, is going to be there again. Ohio State will be another one of those interesting teams as they retool at quarterback. Oregon kind of does the same thing, but they've got experience coming in right behind Dillon Gabriel. Clemson is a team that everybody seems to be in love with right now. And that one, again, like every other team, it comes down to, is your quarterback as advertised? To me, that's one of those teams that I am in a believe it when I see it kind of situation because I think, yes, their quarterback situation is a good one because you've got the experience, but one that has been an underachieving one for the last 4 or 5 years as well. So we'll see about that. Clemson, I think, is a good team overall. They're always talented. It's Dabo's. This is kind of a big year for Dabo, I feel like, to get back into it, especially with the ACC getting better. Louisville is going to be better again, I think. So I'm right there with you. Anybody really in the top 25 or 30 teams, we really don't know how good they're going to be. DJ Lagway, he's coming back from an injury. Who knows with him? I mean, it's all over the place with college football. It'll be interesting to see, but that's why we love it. It should be really fun.
What in the world is this guy doing? Just what the crap was that? Anyways, someone decided that they were going to drive in both lanes for a few miles all of a sudden. So that was interesting.
When you own the road, you own the road.
That's right. Man, I see some nonsense every single day. That is wild. Nanas are always out to get me, man. Every day.
I can imagine.
But, yeah, I think...
Any more notes you have about...
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm curious to see who the group of 4 team that the playoff committee is going to push into the playoffs this year is going to be. I think we should just expect that from now until it changes. I just wonder what.
Yeah, I think definitely that.
What group of 4 team will the committee?
That will be interesting
pick up
to
and
see
pat on their little
where
committee.
those lower level schools come in.
Yeah. Which team's going to be ushered along the entire season and then get absolutely roasted in the playoffs? I'm curious which team. It's not going to be Boise State. I'm sure it'll be someone else.
So we'll do a quick kind of as we transition into now the draft talk.
The show is going
to
be a
looks
mess,
like
bro.
Logan may have
I don't
dropped
know if
off
you're going to
there
be able to
from
save
us,
it.
so we'll try to get him back on. But should be interesting as we move into the NFL draft. Of course, we had the big storylines of Cam Ward, the most likely number 1 that we were going to see. He goes to the Titans. Titans, I feel like, had a pretty good draft overall, kind of in that second, third round. I was, to me, a little bit disappointed as they go away from receiver again, but then in the third round going back-to-back or in the fourth round, going back-to-back wide receivers there, definitely picking up some talent. So that was interesting. And then, of course, I think the talk of the draft was the Shadur Sanders kind of free fall. I think afterwards we heard a lot more
There.
about what he was doing. Yeah, I kind of transitioned into the draft talk throughout. Cam Ward, of course, was the one of the most obvious number ones that we had seen in a while, and then kind of transitioned into Shadur, who dropped off the really the face of the earth there with his free fall. We heard afterwards that a lot of what was going on was, and of course these are all rumors as they normally are. We heard that he was basically for teams that he thought had a possibility of picking him. He was going into those meetings very engaged, very put together, and then for some of the teams, organizations that he was not expecting to be drafted by, he was kind of going in lackadaisical, did not put forward the best effort. So that was kind of the rumors that we've heard after the fact of Shadur kind of just falling off of the face of the earth and then eventually getting picked up by the Browns, which felt like what ended up being basically, I think, a Haslam pick. I don't think that was one the organization was necessarily planning to move forward with after they had picked Dylan Gabriel. But now in a situation that I think the Browns was one of those that was a possibility from the beginning for Shadur. So it was ended up being a spot maybe that was a good landing zone for him. But after the way it went down, it didn't feel like maybe a situation that was going to end up being that good for him. Another one after the draft, kind of going back to Cam Ward, this was pretty interesting. Warren Moon, who obviously had his Oilers number one retired for the Titans organization back in 2006, surprises Cam Ward at his introductory press conference and basically gifts him with the number one to wear for the Titans. And the kind of the differentiation that he made is that he did not expect anybody to be wearing the Oilers number one again in the kind of the Titans era. And with that, in the same vein, the Titans have shelved the Oilers uniforms for the looks like the next couple of seasons as they work towards the new stadium and getting that set up. So that was interesting that maybe we don't see the Oilers throwbacks coming back. But then Warren Moon also mentions that he was expecting a uniform change for the Titans, and I heard that maybe the change is that the Titans will be introducing an Oilers kind of baby blue and red uniform combination with the Titans logo, the Titans kind of all of those effects that go along with it, but with that color scheme. So that will be interesting to maybe see the same feel with the Titans Oilers combo, but Cam Ward wearing number one with just the Titans logo and likely not seeing the Oilers throwbacks come back, which would be a little bit of a disappointment because, in my opinion, they are the best throwbacks in the kind of the NFL. But it'll be cool to see those new uniforms. I would expect those to come around sometime in a similar time frame of the new stadium opening. And hopefully by then, Cam Ward is still a crucial part, integral part of the Titans organization. If not, then not a good look for them, as he is really supposed to be the guy. And when you got Warren Moon going through those hoops to present you with a retired number, you hope that he lives up to that. So we will definitely see. That should be interesting. I'll go on to, looks like Logan is unfortunately having trouble getting back on with us, so I'll just go on to my come on bro for the week. Mine is going to be, of course, we saw the prank calls for the NFL draft. I felt like this is one of those that maybe in the minority. I didn't feel that it was as funny as maybe some people did. Of course, Shadur was the main one that got all the headlines, but to me, this is a situation where these guys are going through one of the biggest nights of their life, and you're expecting those calls, and when you get those prank calls, it's just, not something that you would want anybody to go through if that was somebody that you knew. But of course, it can be humorous, but that was my come on, bro. Of course, you got Shador getting the call that, hey, we're going to pick you, but you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. And then it being an executive, the defensive coordinator, his son, that makes it even worse. That's where my come on, bro comes in. So that was not a good look, pretty embarrassing for that kid, and something that he'll definitely live with for a while. People will definitely recognize him for that, but just one of those that I feel like maybe give these players a chance to experience that good news and enjoy that. So that would definitely be one for me.